I'm Roommate, and this is the 27th movie in the 50 Shades of Horror. It's The Return of the Living Dead, and here's where it's currently streaming. This 1985 zombie movie is comedic, tragic, and suspenseful. It has great makeup and special effects that immerse you in its world. It's a wild ride, and if you haven't seen it already, what are you waiting for? The movie shows its sense of humor right away by breaking the fourth wall. Its exaggerated truthfulness claims everything happened exactly this way. It pokes fun at our gullibility, saying we blindly trust what we're shown.
It worked in the movie! Well, it ain't working now, Frank. You mean the movie lied?
But these winks are just for laughs. We're told to throw out what we know about zombies.
Did you see Night of the Living Dead? That movie was based on a true case.
That's not possible. I mean, they showed zombies taking over the world.
He changed all the facts around.
These zombies can't be killed by destroying their heads, and they're actually smart. In fact, these undead are more crafty than me. I couldn't think to open a door like this. Even though this depiction of zombies is weird, the movie is still influential. The biggest impact it had on pop culture was showing zombies' favorite food. And I'm sure lots of Gen Xers were influenced by the awesome style of the teens.
It's a statement.
Their characters contribute a lot more to the movie's flavor than just bringing
Outbreak!
A bunch this diverse seems like they wouldn't be friends, and they do ruffle each other's feathers.
Yeah, and I ain't in no mood to die tonight.
I like death.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck off and die.
But they also look out for each other, probably due to their leader, Suicide. He may not look it, but he's got a lot of heart and always rushes to help the rest.
Nobody understands me. What do I get?
You're spooky.
Fuck you all!
I like it spooky.
You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
Tina is the most proper of them, and her lack of vulgarity makes her stick out.
Oh, fudge!
Tina is like Janet Weiss from Rocky Horror, earnest, naive, campy, and shocked.
They're horrible, they scream and you've got to do something. Yes.
There's Scuzz in the back reading the Weird Trips comic looking like Travis Bickle. Chuck is always shooting his shot with Casey, but when denied, he insists he's joking. Casey is the sassy, fashionable one who's always looking for a party. Spider plays real cool, but he can only do so by avoiding his fears.
Try not to think about dying too much.
Freddy is a bit on the simple side, but he's the only one of them with a job. And Tina's his girlfriend, who sweetly leads the rest to wait by his work for closing time. But the standout of the crew is Trash, who does not give a single solitary fuck. We've officially peaked. We aren't getting a better character.
Do you ever fantasize about being killed? Do you ever wonder what would be the most horrible way to die? For me, the worst way would be for a bunch of old men to start eating me alive.
And if you want old men, The Return of the Living Dead has you covered. Frank is a hilariously servile employee, groveling to his boss.
We have a little problem.
But you see his inner frustration at his boss peek out, like in this background detail. Bert is a classy, in-control dude who earns his status as a boss with action. His friend Ernie is a smart mortician whose knowledge of death comes in handy. Bert and Ernie. Is this Sesame Street? I bet the letter of the day is Z for zombie. This huge cast plays off each other so well, and everyone has their time to shine. The medical supply job gives us gallows humor from the movie's beginning.
Make a nice little Betty Bye for this little lady. We want her to be comfortable.
Which we're gonna need, as the central characters die in the first 10 minutes.
Hey, these things don't leak, do they?
Leak? Hell no. These things were made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Though they don't realize they're dead for a while, thinking they've just been poisoned. But after the paramedics arrive, Freddy realizes he's worse than poisoned.
What do you mean, no blood pressure, no pulse?
It's so eerie watching Freddy and Frank as each stage of death slowly sets in. And the movie makes the pain they go through ridiculously excessive. As if dealing with their own deaths wasn't enough, other people's deaths are even worse.
Freddy, you gotta open that door. You stand right over here. Frank, right here, and when it comes out, you brain it with that axe.
Oh, Jesus!
This movie blends its humor and scares so well you don't know if you should laugh or scream. There's real emotion to the story, but the irreverence lightens the mood. Despite its punk aesthetic, the movie is meticulously crafted. There's so many little details, like Ernie's picture of himself and his mom. The movie has excellent setups and payoffs, like that worn-out plank on the stairs.
Hey, mind the third step, it's a bitch.
When Tina comes looking for Freddy, it even squeaks as she steps on it. it. So when the slimy zombie chases her, the surprising moment is well earned. Not only are the little moments well thought out, the overarching plot is genius. There's the goofy lie that a zombie is rabid ferrets to get it cremated.
You want to burn them?
Yeah, that's what I had in mind.
That's cruel. You just can't burn animals alive. It's just too hideous, isn't it? At least let me kill them first. Put them out of their misery.
And while Ernie finds out the truth, they still burn it, maybe ending the threat? It looks like their quick thinking and resourcefulness put an end to the ordeal. But no, like a classic farce, their moment of victory makes everything so much worse. As the smoke mixes with the rain, all the graveyard gets coated in zombie juice. This takes the zombie count from 2 to 100 real fucking quick. And this shot is just so epic. I love a good skeleton rising from its grave. The acid rain puts a damper on their party, so everyone goes to find Tina. Suicide's run-in with her assailant shows how brutal and swift this movie is. As they run away, Trash's death wish is fulfilled exactly to her specifications. But don't worry, we haven't seen the last of her. She has a glorious return. She even gets this awesome shot walking out of the fog to claim her prey. The two stories converge in the midst of the chaos when they get to Ernie's. The next step of barring the doors and windows gives us some classic zombie tension. The stakes stay high in this action sequence as Scuzz's blood sprays all over the walls. His death wasn't in vain because this zombie can tell us why they eat brains.
Why do you eat people?
Not people, brains.
Why?
The pain of being dead.
Brains. How does that make you feel?
It makes the pain go away.
Spider's distaste for the macabre comes back as he doesn't want to hear her.
Shut up! Shut up!
The freshly dead Freddy and Frank don't want brains because they haven't rotted enough, so they're no threat to the paramedics. But the rest of the zombies are. But there aren't much brains to go around, so we get this classic line.
Send more paramedics.
And while Ernie is a total badass, he can't take them out all on his own. So the police are dispatched, but they're no match for the Horde either. And I love the detail that this zombie is in Confederate Civil War attire.
Send more cops.
This violence reaches preposterous levels as more and more police arrive. Their situation is comically dire. No one's gonna stop these monsters. The best Spider and Bert can do is run away and steal a cop car. They try to rescue the others, but the throng is too strong, so they have to bail. The thrills continue as they try driving through this undead infestation. Bert's crazy driving almost kills Spider, but he still helps the guy get back inside.
This way, you stupid hunky!
The two get back to Casey and Chuck and give the first zombie a proper send-off. While all the action was happening, Tina and Freddy's reunion was sweet and somber. She stays with him to the bitter end, that moment when the pain turns him. Freddy's jacket says what he's thinking, a big fuck you to Ernie for blinding him. This movie makes terrible execution look so funny, like Freddy's blind rampage. And at that same time, we get a heartfelt scene as Frank faces his fate with quiet grace. While not as threatening as the Horde, Tina's escape from Freddy is more personal. This message from a lost love is the movie at its most haunting.
I love you. You've got to let me eat your
The police have formed a perimeter around the small Kentucky town, but not knowing what they're up against, they're mown down. Oh look, Trash came back again. At the movie's start, we met a military man in charge of finding the lost toxin. The Outbreak, though made worse by our heroes, was ultimately the armed forces' fault. He's been waiting patiently for news so he can contain the damage. With no more options, Bert faces the music and calls the number on the barrel. Colonel Glover politely and calmly takes notes on this apocalypse. He goes into action, bringing the full might of America down on this problem. An eager cadet puts in the coordinates and readies the cannons to wipe the entire city off the face of the earth. Mission accomplished. So the movie ends with every character we care about dying. gnarly, and it's even implied that the bombs didn't stop the spread. It's only getting worse. If there's one phrase I'd use to describe this movie, it's comically bleak. It celebrates its flawed characters, marveling at how many mistakes they make. The horror we've seen here has reached new heights for this challenge. Wouldn't you agree? And the style of The Return of the Living Dead is even stronger than its scares, which is why this movie impresses fans new and old decades later. Today's recommendation is for Gary and Ian of Off the Shelf Reviews. Their channel does in-depth discussions of offbeat classics like today's movie. While not always horror-focused, they do give the genre a fair bit of attention. They pick out lots of interesting details, like this butterfly effect.
There's that awesome effect with all the butterflies, or their wings flapping. Special effects guy is just out of frame, blowing at them, which is making the paper move.
All of the effects in this movie cement it to be iconic.
So go check out their Return of the Living Dead review in the link below. Watch the skies, because next week we'll be invaded by 2006's Slither. Here's where you can find this creepy crawly alien movie streaming online. It's okay if you go crazy waiting for next Saturday. It's in your nature, ain't it?